The San Jose Sharks make a pair of moves to bolster the blue line.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be discussing the newest San Jose Sharks. We have Dmitry Orlov, who the Sharks signed, and they also claimed Nick Leddy, as we kind of discussed yesterday. Going to look at if now the kind of logjam that there is along the blue line, and definitely not overreacting to the prospect scrimmage that happened this morning as well. So before we get to all that, I do want to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, let's start with the transactional news before we get to the prospect scrimmage, because we'll get to the prospect scrimmage. I know you're excited about that, but as I am too. But let's start with the transactional news, and as we have two new members to the San Jose Sharks organization, as the Sharks signed Dmitry Orlov. So let's get to know Mr. Orlov a little bit. So Dmitry Orlov, 5'11", 214-pound left-handed defenseman. I know. It is what it is, guys. Second-round pick of the Washington Capitals, way back in the 2009 draft. Played over in Russia. Broke in at the age of 20 in the 2011-2012 season, where he played 60 games. Spent the majority of his career until the 22-23 season, where he was sent over to the he was sent over to the Boston Bruins. After spending half a season with the Bruins, signed as a free agent with the Carolina Hurricanes, where he spent the last two seasons. Orlov is a guy who's played 867 NHL games throughout his 13-year career, has, for the most part, played a good chunk of games. He had a few seasons where he played 82 in a row, and over the last couple seasons has been, mostly a night in, night out type of guy, especially for the Carolina Hurricanes. So let's look at what he's done, at least what he did this season. So he played 76 games, scored 6 goals, 22 assists with 117 shots on goal, playing 20 minutes a night. Corsi for, so when he was on the ice, the Carolina Hurricanes took 59.32% of the shot attempts. When he was on the ice, they also scored 50.44% of the goals. You have to keep in mind with the Hurricanes, right? Their whole system, theory, everything, just as many shot attempts as possible. So that Corsi for number is definitely kind of pumped up compared to other teams, just because of the style of play that the Carolina Hurricanes play. Again, I'm not saying like he didn't help contribute to that, but just something to kind of keep in mind. That is definitely how the Canes like to play. Shoot as often as possible. So for Orlov here, again, another left-handed defenseman, and we'll talk about that some more. He's a guy who I was a little worried about because of his play in the playoffs. But if you dig into the numbers, especially the regular season, right, and with the Sharks, not like we have to worry about the playoffs here. I think he's going to be a very impactful player for San Jose. So looking at his evolving hockey card, playing kind of first pairing minutes, right? Of course, Slavin and Burns are going to get kind of those big chunk of minutes, especially at 5-on-5, and on the power play and stuff like that. But Orlov, definitely plays his fair share of minutes. 40 percentile offensively, as like a first pairing even strength type of player, 43rd percentile offensively 36th percentile defensively, but expected goals above replacement is excellent. The kind of goals above replacement, expected goals above replacement on the penalty kill, it's a little interesting there, but again, this is just one metric here. Looking at his advanced hockey stat card, which kind of measures the past 3 seasons, he's been an excellent player, kind of especially in those second pairing role. 75th percentile the 22-23 season, was up close to 90 percentile the 23-24. This year kind of back down to the 75th percentile. So total projected WAR, so wins above replacement, 76 percentile. Offense, defense, good. The PK, again, a little interesting there. Played against solid competition, of course, had good teammates playing with the Carolina Hurricanes. Is a player whose defense is kind of his calling card, but the offense, I think, can be a sneaky addition for the Sharks and should have more of a opportunity in San Jose compared to Carolina, where there was just different guys were just kind of in different roles here. So looking at his usage chart from Dauber Hockey, played a kind of average top 4 two-way defenseman, played tough competition, also got offensive zone minutes. But again, Carolina, with the way they control the puck, they're in the offensive zone a lot. So that does skew it a little bit, but still effective with his minutes. Looking at the microstats, and this is where I got really interested with Orlov and what he does well. And the offense is, he does drive offense a little bit here, but his ability to enter like the zone entries, which is again an area that the Sharks struggle mightily from, especially along the blue line. Orlov is very good at creating zone entries, controlled zone entries, like creating chances off of his zone entries. Like when Orlov gets the puck going from the neutral zone into the offensive zone, typically good things happen. He's also very good at just getting the puck out of his own zone, which is, again, another area the Sharks struggle mightily as well. Does a solid job, too, with just the zone entry defense, which are 3 kind of big key areas for the San Jose Sharks. So I do think, kind of digging into the numbers here a little bit more, I think this signing has a chance to work out quite beautifully for the San Jose Sharks. And yes, you do worry, especially for a guy who's, he'll be 34 when the season starts here and maybe going to start to lose a step here. But look at what the San Jose Sharks have now on defense and tell me, is any of these defenders better than Orlov? And I think it's a pretty clear, Orlov is, I believe, the best defenseman on the Sharks right now. When it comes to the contract, I saw, of course, the term overpay, et cetera, and you can argue the Sharks definitely overpaid for Orlov, but it doesn't really matter for San Jose. So Orlov was projected to sign a 3-year deal at 4.5. If he had signed a 2-year deal, it was going to be the 4.8 kind of range for him. Of course, he signed a 2-year deal at $6.5 million. We have the details of it too. Full no trade clause the first year, which you would expect. And then the second year, it drops to a modified no trade clause with 15 teams, which again, you would kind of expect. We've seen Mike Grier do this move before. Look at Alex Weinberg, right? Full no trade clause the first year. Second year, if things, if we have an opportunity to move you to a contending team, we will do our best type of thing. But the more I think about and kind of process this signing, I really like it. And I don't really care about the money. $6.5 million is a lot. But this team was desperate, 1, to get to the cap floor, and 2, the Dmitry Orlov signing, it doesn't prohibit you from doing anything else. Like the Sharks still have $23 million in cap space right now. They can still add 1 more player to the active roster. That doesn't include Dickinson and stuff, but we'll talk about the kind of the blue line here in a little bit. But I do think this is a move that you're trying to kind of raise the level of play along the blue line, especially with a young goaltender in Askarov. And I think you're just you're overpaying for Orlov 100%, but you're just getting a good NHL player who can come in and again just kind of help set the tone and establish what you want your defense to look like. And I think for again, the Russian kind of part of it, right, with a young defender like Muk Madulin, who is bigger, especially lankier than Orlov. I think that's going to be helpful. And then also a Russian goalie in Askarov. I think just having a guy who's been there, done it, won a cup before in the room, I think is going to be kind of a nice pillar type of player. And like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Orlov is sporting an A, like just because what he might mean for the Sharks defensive group at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sporting an A. So I really like it. I don't care about the money, and I think this will work out pretty well for the Sharks. So we're going to talk about Nick Leddy here, and then we'll also look at how the blue line is going to be impacted as the Sharks now have a lot of names, especially on the left side. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets easier and faster than ever. Prices actually drop as you get closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Maybe you want to go see the Killers. That's a terrible joke. Anyway, if you're tired of endlessly scrolling to find the best seats, Game Time's got you covered with zone deals. Pick the best seats in your section for you. I know actually my wife is looking to go to Vegas to go see Backstreet Boys, and she has been perusing Game Time nonstop, trying to find those perfect tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, before we continue, of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Even though we're going to be entering the quote unquote quiet part of the off season, that doesn't mean we still don't have content coming for you. We're going to be digging into the draft class more, kind of getting to know some of these young players, and then we're going to start ramping up for the new season because believe it or not, it's going to be here sooner than you guys think. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. So the Sharks, of course, claimed Nick Leddy as well from the St. Louis Blues. We did kind of the whole Nick Leddy thing yesterday, but we'll do a quick recap just in case you didn't listen yesterday, which shame on you. Subscribe, all that fun stuff. But so Nick Leddy, former first-round pick from the Minnesota Wild, bounced around a little bit between the Islanders, the Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks, and the St. Louis Blues. Had 1 year left on his deal at $4 million, and the Blues put him on waivers because they've made some transactions to try to improve their blue line and felt that I honestly think this was a Barclay Goodrow 2.0 situation where they tried to explore trade. Leddy has a fair amount of trade protection, so they were just like, screw it, we will put you on waivers, and the San Jose Sharks are going to claim you, just like what we saw last year from the New York Rangers and Barclay Goodrow. So the Sharks did claim Leddy in the 1 year at $4 million on his contract here. So they do take all of that. It does have a 16 team trade list, so about half the league he can get traded to as well. So Leddy last year struggled with some injuries. He missed a ton of games last year with a undisclosed lower body injury. Research is it might be a nerve injury is kind of what potentially, but he was back for the second half of the year and played in the playoffs as well. So the hope is he can, continue to get healthy, but not the most like production wise. 31 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 21 shots on goal, playing a little under 19 minutes. Corsi for 48.56%. Goals for 50% or 58%. So nice numbers there. 6 foot, 205 pounds, 34 as well. Also left-handed. Leddy, though, like, again, didn't really qualify, but the goals above replacement was pretty solid in a very, very small sample size. Kind of, again, playing a lot of even strength minutes. Didn't really see much power play shorthanded, which you wouldn't expect with Nick Leddy. War over the past 3 years, 51%, really kind of though propped up by that 22-23 season. And the last couple seasons have been kind of in these kind of about that 40% range as well. So does a good job of drawing penalties though, which is nice. So usage, he was kind of used as an average depth defenseman last year, but again, missed a lot of time. And I think they were a little bit slower kind of rolling him back into, into the fray there as the season went on. But Leddy doesn't really do a good job. Like, the driving offense is not his game. If you look at the 23-24 season, his last kind of fully healthy season, but he's very good at, again, getting the puck into the offensive zone and also getting the puck out of his own zone. So does struggle with kind of denying like the zone entry denial. Maybe not really is an area where he's starting to kind of fall off a little bit here, but I do think from just getting the puck from out of the zone and getting into the Sharks zone, offensive zone, that's an area where you're going to see a big improvement. So what does this mean now? Because, I mean, now the Sharks have multiple defensemen, right? You have Dmitry Orlov, Nick Leddy, John Klingberg, who are all new players. You have Mario Ferraro, Timothy Liljegren, Vincent Darnayes, Henry Thrun, Shakir Mukhamadullin. You have Jack Thompson, who's still an RFA and is expected to get a contract here as well. Plus, you have the Sam Dickinson of it all and Luca Cagnoni, who are both at some point going to be pushing for NHL time. Dickinson, from the sound of it, it does sound like the Sharks are going to give him every opportunity to make the NHL. It's okay. The good thing is one player is signed past this season, and that's the guy you just signed today, and Dmitry Orlov. Orlov's going to be playing, is signed for 2 years. Everybody else contract ends at the end of the 25-26 season. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone gets traded at some point, or you just, have a lot of guys. And we know Mike Grier more, like, he loves to trade. Mike Grier very into the trading part of it, as I think he's been one of the most active GMs when it comes to making trades. And you look at, like I've said it before, like Mario Ferraro is due a new contract after this year and is a UFA. I do not want to pay Mario Ferraro that third contract, right? As you'll see, the 4 years at $3.25 million. I would not be in the business of paying Mario Ferraro. Yes, I know he's 26. He'll be 27. I would not be in the business of paying Mario Ferraro his next contract. I can see that because I think he probably has the most perceived value out of the, like, realistic guys here, of guys who could get moved. I think Vinny Darnayes, like, is a perfectly cromulent seventh defenseman. I think Thrun is a guy who maybe might be also an odd man out too, especially if Dickinson has himself a really nice season. I think Jack Thompson spends at least a start. Thompson and Luca Cagnoni both spend the start of the season in the Barracuda. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that. And then could be early or kind of mid-season calls for them. But, you look at it now and it's probably something like Klingberg, Orlov is probably your first pairing defenseman. Leddy, who can play both left and right defenseman with, like, Mukhamadullin, and then maybe Liljegren, Ferraro to start right now with Darnayes as your seventh defenseman. And then again, if Dickinson is ready to make the jump, you can move. Like, it's not like you can't move a player, and it does. It's like the Sharks said how important Dickinson is to this franchise and the future of this franchise. And again, they're going to give him every opportunity to make the team. So don't think, again, I know the Sharks have a lot of defensemen right now. Like, I still could see them maybe moving one, especially if potential forward becomes available, or if they want to maybe try to gather another asset here somewhere else, or maybe there's a bigger name out there type of thing. But I would be surprised if they rolled into camp with all of these guys, and we'll spend some more time here kind of digging into some potential fits, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I do think, though, Greer has improved the defense, and yes, there is some risk with some of these guys, especially a guy like Klingberg, who has not been able to stay healthy. Leddy, who's coming off an injury. Orlov, who again getting a little bit older, might have lost a step. But I think it's still an improvement over what we saw from last year, maybe with the exception of Jake Wallman. But there's still a path for these guys to, especially Klingberg, I think, could have a big bounce back season now that he's actually fully healthy and is going to be kind of the number one de facto defenseman, especially when it comes to kind of generating offense. I do think there's a pretty easy path for this defense to be better than what we saw last year, especially because of Orlov and what I think he does really well. Really helps what the Sharks need. And I do believe Leddy, I think if you believe in maybe just the down year because of the injury and he can get back to being healthy, I think for low risk signings that do have some reward for them. So we're going to switch over to the prospect scrimmage here and just kind of touch on some highlights and stuff on it. And again, try not to overreact, but we'll dig into it here in just 1 second. All right, before we finish up, do want to, of course, thank you for making it Locked On Sharks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There's no off season. We're bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, so we did have the prospect scrimmage today. One weird time. I hate the 11 a.m. thing, especially if you're not going to do 11 a.m. On 4th of July, where most people have it off. Do it at night when, again, people are off. I get it. You're trying to get the kids home and everything like that. Anyway, but still, that's but my other thing too is take it all with a grain of salt. It's a 4-on-4 tournament for the 4-on-4 game for the half of the game and a 3-on-3 for the second half of the game with very much mixed and matched lines, and it's more of an entertainment factor. So don't overreact if your chosen favorite prospect played very well or maybe didn't kind of live up to what you hoped from them or whatever. That being said, Eric Polkamp, baby. I know he's going back to Denver. He said today after, he's 100% committed going back to Denver. He wants to win a championship. There's a good quote. I think Max Miller had it about he sees the other guys with the tattoos with the national championship, and he really wants one too. So, I do Polkamp. I do think could have been a very good piece of the Barracuda. But yeah, I mean, he's going to go back to Denver. He's going to be probably the 1D there, especially now with Z Bouillon in the NHL. I expect Polkamp to have a massive season for Denver and be a huge piece of it. But he was outstanding today. The defense, especially, again, that zone entry denial, we kind of see it there. But the offense and jumping into the offense, and again, right, it's 4-on-4, 3-on-3. Don't overreact to it, but kid's got a missile of a shot, man. That is very much clear. So, and he's 5'11", but he's built. He is a bowling ball on skates here, and I'm very high on Polkamp and think has a chance to be a really good player. So, some of the other guys who really stood out to me, I want to kind of Quentin Musty. Just the playmaking from Quentin Musty. And I think Team Teal was set up in a better position, especially among the forwards. Of course, when you have Misa and Chernyshov together, and we'll talk about those two here in a minute. But I think Musty, who maybe just didn't have the same amount of help, but I thought he was excellent today, especially with the playmaking and the patience. There was a beautiful pass that he had to Joey Maldoni. Of course, growing up as I think they were lived like 5 minutes away from each other like that and grew up, they're like best friends and everything. But great to see like Musty have a nice day today, because we kind of feels like Musty is a little bit down on some people's thoughts and stuff, especially after what we saw from Chernyshov last year. And like I think Musty is going to have himself a really nice season in the AHL with the Barracuda. And again, try not to overreact, but I thought he played pretty well today, and it was nice to see from him. Speaking for, I guess, Misa and Chernyshov, like the chemistry there, right? And there was the great pass from Misa to set up Holtkamp on the first goal there. You just saw like it was just almost unfair, just the way, because those two guys had played together. Like you definitely, it's just not fair, like how those guys would just kind of almost dominate for shifts and just kind of a little bit of the July hockey, right, where everything was off like just a little bit there. But yeah, those guys are going to be great. And I think Chernyshov plays NHL games this year, man. Like, I think right now, again, it's a long shot for me, at least right now, to say he starts the season in the NHL, but he's going to play NHL games at this point because just of, again, the details in his game and the puck possession and just the size, right? Especially for his age at 19. But like you see those details and the way he keeps opponents away from the puck, like all that stuff is NHL caliber already. Like it's just going to be refining it in the AHL and then just getting used to the speed. But again, as a guy who's played in the KHL, got to punk on children in the OHL last year. And I think for him, maybe kind of building up that confidence, especially after dealing with the shoulder injury. I think Chernyshov is going to be playing NHL games. Misa, you saw some of the speed too. He had that breakaway where he kind of just blew by everybody, but wasn't able to kind of get the goal off there. But I think Misa, again, the same thing is like with Dickinson. They're going to give him every opportunity to make the NHL, and if he doesn't, we'll see what they do. I still think if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if he's basically got a college offer kind of sitting in his back pocket. And I think every school in the country would be happy to have Michael Misa come on their campus here. Let's see a couple other ones. So another thing. So Simon Wang prefers, I guess the pronunciation is how she, like he prefers his kind of more, I guess, I don't want to say like Chinese name, traditional name. So Hao Shi Wang is the proper pronunciation of it. So we're going to try our best here to hammer that home, that Hao Shi Wang, same guy as Simon Wang. But Wang, I thought you saw some of the flashes, right? And we know he's a super, super raw, type of a player where it's going to take some time. You saw some of the flashes of good defensive play, and you saw some of the errors, which you expect, right? And again, these like 4-on-4, 3-on-3, it doesn't put the defenseman in a good position, right? Because it's a lot more kind of up and down, and you're maybe the only guy out there. Like it's not putting them in the kind of best situation. So Wong, like going into the OHL, like and stuff like that, like I think that I still believe he's on the correct path of like a year in the OHL, then spend some time in college, and then we'll kind of go from there. But again, you saw some flashes of him. You saw some errors as well. Dickinson looked great as well. Like I'm excited for Dickinson to this preseason. And we're still very early into this, but I think he would basically have to like poop the bed in the preseason for him to at least not get his 9 games in the NHL this year. I think he's going to get a really long look for the Sharks. So other guys, I thought Sloboda had some nice plays as well. Again, kind of a guy who's going to be probably a bottom 9 or bottom 6 type of player, but a little bit of scoring pop as well. I thought he had some nice plays. I will say Landon Marlowe, as a tryout, I thought he has some good moments as well. I'm not giving him like a contract or anything like that right now, but it was just nice to see. And another defenseman who kind of popped out for me was Noah Beck. Again, just like looks like a professional out there, like looks like a professional hockey player. And as weird as that sounds, like it's a compliment, right? Like looks like he knows what he's doing, getting the puck moving, kind of in the right place at the right time. So I'm excited to see him hopefully earn a little bit more of a role with the Barracuda this year. But overall, again, I always love honestly, my favorite part about it is at the end when they give the Marchment Cup to the winning team. Great to see Reese Levac kind of be the team captain for Team Teal. Also nice to see Logan Couture out there handing it out with his son there. I did see the like dad fear when his child started stepping on the ice, and that first step that you kind of take there, you're like stuck between two duties. I saw that Logan. So that dad instinct kicking in there. But it was good to see all the players like kind of treated with, like celebrating and stuff like that. And it's such a nice moment every year to kind of, again, use this to remember Marchie and what he meant to this organization and stuff. So I'm like every time it happened, like just smiling ear to ear, like watching it. But anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. This is actually gonna be your Friday episode. It is 4th of July. So here in America, as most of my listeners are American. So this is the Friday episode. If you listen to it Thursday afternoon, just re-listen to it on Friday or whatever. But we'll be back on Sunday nights unless Mike Greer decides to do something this weekend. Most likely, though, we'll be back on Sunday night. So make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Stay safe out there. Bye, friends.